It's been a month since I purchased two bikes from Dick's Sporting Goods, a GT Aggressor Pro and a Nishiki Colorado Comp. I purchased both of these bikes on sale and I think I got a good deal on both, but I did have some QC issues with the setup, and this may be a good point if you haven't already seen those videos to check them out, but let's recap. I'll start with the GT Aggressor Pro. For the $299 I paid, and considering the feature set, this has the potential to be a great entry-level trail bike. This is assuming you don't have the same issues that I did with mine. After 2 store visits for both braking issues and chain drops, I had to take matters into my own hands to get the bike working properly. And that entailed quite a bit of degreasing to get the brakes working properly, but now they are working. And as far as the chain drop, I adjusted and I got that better, so yes and no. But before I get to that, let me point out something. In the month since I uploaded the Aggressor Pro video, it's had about 57,000 views as of today, and in that time I've had no less than a dozen people convey to me that they've also had braking and chain drop issues. Now there are more that state they haven't had any issues and really enjoy their bike, but for me to get that many people with the same issues on 57,000 views leads me to believe that it might not be all that uncommon. Now a lot of this isn't on the bike, it's on the Dick's Sporting Goods bike mechanics and their setup. But there is one thing that isn't necessarily mechanic related, and I'll get to that in a minute. But overall, let me say that my bike does work now, and I think that at least as it is, it's good for casual trail riding or a good beginner bike. The Aggressor Pro has a Suntour XCT fork, and in my opinion, that's the bare minimum for an acceptable trail experience, at least one above big box bike expectations. And speaking of expectations, you can expect the GT Aggressor Pro to be a little bit noisy. There's going to be some clanking and creaking coming from both ends. A little creaking from the front suspension as it moves over trail obstacles, and some clanking from the back from that Shimano Acera. And in my case, I think my Acera is making an excessive amount of noise for what an Acera should be. I talked about my bike having chain drop issues that I've made better. I've adjusted them, but I'm on the max end of what I can adjust out. And even with that, enough bouncing over trail routes and I can get unintended gear changes. I think I know why. I noticed that my Acera had significantly less resistance than I thought that it should have. So I went to the local Dick's store, looked at the two GT Aggressor Pros they had on the shelf, and felt the resistance on those Aceras, and it was significantly more than mine. I mentioned this to the in-store bike mechanic and all I got was a shrug and I'm quoting here, "All we can do is adjust things." So this is probably the reason for my experience, maybe yours too if you're having problems with your derailleur and chain drops. I'm going to see if I can get them to replace my Acera, and if so, I think I'll have a bike that's definitely worth $299 and worth looking at if you're in the market for one. And I'm saying all this because Labor Day and the holidays are approaching, so I expect that $299 sale to be back a couple of more times before the end of the year. And this gets me to the other Dick's Sporting Goods bike that I've purchased, the Nishiki Colorado Comp 27.5 Plus. That's a mouthful. With its 27.5 by 2.8 inch wide tires and its devastatingly good looks, I was thrilled when I was able to buy this for $379. There's so much to like here. Aside from those plus size wheels, the bars are usably wide. I was initially not a fan of the low rise, but they've grown on me since. But it's that frame design that I really like. Not only does it practically eliminate chain slap, you can't hit what isn't there, but the high side chainstay on the drive side makes for a great foot prop when taking breaks on the trail while still on the saddle. But of course, being a Dick's Sporting Goods bike set up by the local Dick's Sporting Goods, I had some issues that I mentioned in the previous video, mainly with the shifting. I was isolated down to about 7 speeds. And it took a visit to my local bike shop where they instantly diagnosed a bent derailleur hanger. Good spotting whoever commented on that in the previous video. They also found that the B-limit adjustment was off. Way off. So $30 later, they had the bike in top form, and this is really a testament to just how important proper setup is. Because since the local bike shop got it dialed in, I've had it on the trails a few times, and it's a nice bike for the $379 I paid. I also learned something. They mentioned that this frame design is kind of a takeaway on the Trek Stash and that it was designed like this so the wheelbase can be shorter. The short wheelbase combined with the plus size tires makes for a very darty experience, so you have to keep that in check so you don't get lulled by the plus size tire traction. Because it's important to know your limits, especially in those areas where you've recently crashed. This bike is normally $499, and if set up properly, I don't know that it's not still a good deal at that price, because you're getting decent components, but not top end. And that shows with the fork noises. After about the second trail ride, it started creaking. A loud, almost embarrassingly loud creak. But it's just noise, because other than the noise, this front suspension handles terrain acceptably well, and when combined with those low pressure plus size wheels, gives a smooth ride. Everything I've said is assuming that you like plus size wheels on a bike, because this setup isn't for everyone. Wide tires and a 1x drivetrain, some just won't like that. You'll either like it or you won't. For me, I love both plus size and 1x, so this heavily tilts my odds of approval. And the frame design, to me, is an added bonus. I really like this setup, but I noticed in the comments on the previous video that some of you don't like this. I also like the front through axle that I didn't expect, but that's one of the both goods and not so goods, because the XCM may be decent for an entry-level bike, but the rest of the bike is capable of more upgrade-wise, not counting the bottom bracket, but good luck finding a through axle fork with a straight steerer. And if I'm going to talk about the not so goods, I can talk about the pedals. They're metal, so I guess that's good, but they refuse to grip on any shoe that I've tried, but realistically, who would keep these anyway? And then of course there's the weight. I brought out the Raleigh Kodiak 2 not to do a comparison, but I wanted to mention that it shares a lot with this bike. The Kenda 27.5 by 2.8 tires, although they're lesser Kendas on the Colorado, though they do have the same size and tread. But they also share the same SRAM NX 1x11 setup. This is one of my favorites. But the Colorado somehow manages to gain a full pound over the Raleigh Kodiak 2 full suspension bike. Weighs in at 36.2 pounds. And I do notice that weight when riding, but really anything over about 31 pounds tends to drag me down far faster. I like a bike that's in the 28 range, so I guess if I had one major complaint, it's probably the weight. But cheaper bikes are usually heavier, it's just something you have to deal with. So with potential sales on the horizon, I hope this update helps out those of you that have been waiting for more information on how these bikes have been doing for me. In summary, personally, I wouldn't pay more than $299 for the GT Aggressor Pro. It's an okay beginner bike, but I think that ends at the $299 price range. Now the Nishiki Colorado, I'm thrilled with it for the $379 that I paid. I would be even more thrilled if it would have been properly set up to begin with, but it may be still a fair value even if you bought it at $499. Start commenting. Let me know which is your favorite if you're looking at either of these bikes, or just post a comment if you have something to say about them in general. Thanks for watching, and be sure you're subscribed and you have that bell notification icon hit, and also be sure to check out KevCentral.com for even more info. Have a great day.